What is going on, guys? No, your eyes were not lying to you. That Gogeta literally just 100 to 0 that cell in 2 strike cards and a main ability, which left him with 95 key. We're going to get into that in just a second. First and foremost, I want to start by thanking everybody again for all the feedback that I got on the forums, on the videos themselves. So now, today what we're going to be doing actually is I'm going to be doing kind of a review of both 398%ed Gogeta and Janemba, as well as the new Super Saiyan Shallot. Well, I'll have to say it may surprise you. A lot of people are saying he's trash, but you know, I see the potential, and we're going to talk about exactly why that is. So now let's kind of jump right into this. First, we're going to look at the man himself, Gogeta. You know, I want to talk about this ridiculous strike and blast attack. You know, most of the characters we've gotten have had one or the other kind of being pushed up. Here, Gogeta just absolutely taking the best of both worlds here, especially on the defensive side. For a non-defensive unit, those are very high defensive stats. The critical looks good, key restore speed looks good. You know, everything is great. The only thing here that I want to stop onto this page for is looking at these tags. Now, at first you might think, oh, you know, he fits on several teams. He can fit with the fusion team, although, you know, we've already ran through the Piccolos and they did not have the fusion tag. They do not synchronize together. They don't synergize rather together. Now, the reason why I'm saying this isn't necessarily a good thing is because with items coming out that are anti-hybrid Saiyan, anti-Saiyan, anti-Super Saiyan, you know, if we keep getting items like this, you know, obviously if they went for the hybrids, they might go for the fusions as well. Now imagine having multiple items running around that can counter you, right? Or that reduce your damage, or that do more damage to you. I'm not sure I'm a fan of having all of these tags, so we'll have to see how this plays out in the future. Obviously the 2 melee cards is yes on every count. It is still very much a strike meta, especially with the sidestep nerf or change. I still see value. Obviously it was a flat out nerf, but the change is still useful, which we will be talking about in a future video. Actually on Monday will be a big kind of secondary PvP guide where I go over what still works, how to use the new sidestep, and what abilities can still be performed using what they left in the game, and I guess kind of the current meta, right? Let's take a look at these cards here, because there's kind of a bit here to cover. We're not trying to make this too long, because I think most people have kind of gone through what he does already. What I want to talk about specifically are the buffs, right? So the comparison between this and Janemba, I actually prefer Janemba's, to be completely honest. Countering the bait key launch, which we'll talk about in a second, is huge. Whereas this, you know, you're kind of leaving yourself exposed. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'll have to see how it plays out as I continue using it. But, you know, waiting for someone to punch you in the face, I mean, people are kind of agile enough now that, you know, you can cancel out of cards and so on and so forth. But the 20% to strike damage, obviously just great. If you do land it, you remove the enemy's attribute upgrade. So hey, we now have something else here that can counter, for example, a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan with all of his buffs, right? Moving on to the abilities here, this is where we start to see some real power. And the reason why that clip I one-shotted him, or 100 to 0'd him in 3 cards, is because I had 2 units dead, actually. What happens is Gogeta kind of enrages the way Super Saiyan 2 Gohan does. So now, when you pop your main ability, you restore some of your health. From what I've seen, it's not actually 20% of your total health, but rather 20% of your base health, which, you know, if you have something like 60 or 600,000 health, you're recovering 60 something thousand. So it's closer to 10% of your health. We'll have to play around and see. Maybe I just misunderstood, you know, how it's supposed to work, but for now, 25 timer counts, not too bad, especially that this is a closer unit, so 25 timer counts will most certainly have passed. The Z ability, again, nothing to say here. It's kind of focused on a tag that isn't really relevant. Ultimate Fusion here, Again, I'll avenge you, more strike damage. Now, what I kind of want to, or not strike damage, but total damage. What I want to kind of bring forth is how these buffs are starting to stack. We're seeing a lot of this, right? So now if Paikohan is defeated, he gets 50% ki restore. Honestly, don't really care. The 20% damage inflicted for each down ally, that's more what we're looking for, right? Using Paikon is just not efficient in the current meta. Gogeta fits way too well on a Saiyan team to be using Paikon. There's no reason for it. But, 40% more damage after having 2 downed allies. Your strike arts here can stack. I haven't seen it cap out. Honestly, I haven't had time to see it cap out, I guess. It's only 10 timer counts. So, I mean, they start to fall off, obviously. But you can stack it here. You're gaining more from your green card over here. Another 20%. So you can get these buffs going pretty high. As far as the unit himself, excellent unit. Fits great on a Super Saiyan team or just a Saiyan team in general. They're definitely back with the addition of Gogeta. Having the Super Vegeta, having Gogeta, having Instant Transmission Goku, having Bardock is just a powerhouse team right now. Moving on to Janemba though, because we can hype up Gogeta, but we knew he was going to be really strong. Janemba, however, is what kind of surprised me because they made him a defensive unit. And he's actually an excellent defensive unit, and I rarely would say this about defensive units, right? We're thinking about Trunks, we're thinking about the old Piccolo, usually just that kind of cover change, damage reduction. Here we have a defensive unit that actually is defensively annoying. So we're gonna look at these stats here. Good health. The attack is actually really good for a defensive unit. These are just fine, honestly. The defenses a bit lower than some of the defensive units. If we're looking at, for example, 16. 16 is still the main tank of the game. Janemba will not dethrone him there, but the combination of high defensive stats and attack is definitely worth mentioning here. Excellent crit, high ki restore speed, so really making up for the loss of sidestep. Well, not making up, but it helps. Looking over at his kit, this is where we're going to see why he's such a good tank. So first of all, your lightning shower rain here restores 50% of your vanishing gauge. Now you would think, well, fights happen so fast. If you don't have your vanish and you're not switching and maintain priority, they'll hit you and you'll get it all back anyways. Well, hold on. Here comes the skill card. Now the tap shot or the blast arts card will be absorbed. So that is where you see him kind of put his hands in front of his face. He absorbs it and he launches it back at you from behind, pushing you forward and basically giving you a free combo off of your enemy. So this is kind of different from Gogeta's, because Gogeta's, even if you do get punched in the face and blast them away and remove all their buffs and all that, they can actually attack you or vanish or switch or whatever it is they want to do, rising rush even, before you can actually hit them. So it's not a chain combo kind of move, whereas Dimension Guard here is. So that is a very, very big deal. Again, 20% to own strike inflicted, and he, has those huge stats for a defensive unit. Just an excellent move in general, especially that people can't really attack you now. So while you're getting 50% of your vanish gauge back, in that little bit of time left, they have a few seconds to make something happen, and they cannot bait you. Both of these will throw them back at you into a combo. So as soon as you use your vanish, you finish your combo with your lightning shower rain, and then you hold on to these right here in order to regain those last couple of seconds of vanish engage. So this is very hard to deal with. They don't know how to attack you, which to me screams defensive unit, right? If you don't know how to attack a defensive unit, well, he's doing his job. Moving over to his abilities, increases the strike arts cost to all enemies by 15. That is huge. With the loss of sidestep, recovery, this is just absolutely killer. Now it says draw a special arts card. You actually draw a skill card, the green card. So I don't know if they're just trying to change the name here or if they made a typo. It's a green card. So basically you use just your main ability, you increase their cost, and if they try to throw a blast at you, well, you just throw it right back at them. Now the Z ability, regeneration tag for strike defense. I mean, fits on the Piccolo teams, probably Boo later on. We're still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with the flyer that was leaked, showing off Gotenks and Boo and Dabura and all that. Moving on to unique abilities here, looking at the nullify attribute downgrade. So you can't debuff him essentially. Now, inflicted damage up plus 20% to damage inflicted to each downed opponent when this character enters the battlefield. So if he has one character left, well, your tank here is going to be doing 40% more damage. So while it's impossible to hit you for at least a period of popping your super and your skill cards, you're doing 40% more damage with your high base stats to begin with. So he can be a closer, he can be a last man standing. He's just an all-around great unit. And I honestly, if it wasn't for the amount of damage Gogeta pops out, I would say that this is a superior unit to Gogeta. For the time being. Obviously, Gogeta has better support from stuff like Bardock, instant transmission, Goku. The Piccolos, yeah, kind of, I guess. We'll have to wait and see what else gets a regeneration tag. There are a lot of different possibilities there. Now, lastly, we're going to look at this Shallot here. So let's just start a little count here, right? So Blaster Shell, I put on Broly's special here, and you can put on anything. You could crank this up even more for more strike damage, for example. I have 15% from Broly's here with a chance to feint. So we have 15, so keep count here. His skill card gives him 20% and restores his ki by 45, which is great in, again, the sidestep nerf, right? So 15 plus 20, we're looking at 35. And just bear with me here. The main ability restores his own health by 25%. Might work the same way as Gogeta, so we'll have to see here. 30% to strike and blast damage of allies for 15 timer counts. So now we were at 15, 20, 20. So that's 35 plus 30, we're at 65% more damage. His Z ability is just a Saiyan tag, more health, no change there. So we're at 65%. Now, in his unique ability, 20% to strike damage inflicted for each down ally. So we have 40% if he's the last man standing. We're at 105% more strike damage. And again, another 20% if he's on a Saiyan team, and that fits his tag. So he's at 125% more strike damage in this case. Looking back at these stats, I mean, add 125% to that, that's not too bad. Gogeta's bust, for example, take him up, I think, to 70%. I forget the count exactly. But, it starts to be a bit comparable to even the stronger units, which puts him in the top tier of damage dealt if the gimmick lines up. Now, these are limited timer counts, obviously. He has to be the last man standing here, and as the last man standing, he has no health, so that's not too great. A lot of gimmicks kind of have to line up. He has his main ability that lasts again for 15 timer counts, but you can see the kind of direction they want to take with Shallot, where he's kind of like a fit into a niche kind of character. I think there's a potential. Obviously, if we go over to our menu and look at the customize option, it's the type of thing where you can tell that they want to add more. Obviously, only 2 slots taken right now as soon as this loads. So there's room over here, to have more of Shallot's transformations. I'm thinking there's going to be a blue one eventually, or at least Super Saiyan Blue, right? Because, as these sagas continue, we're going to keep getting these transformations. So while I don't think Shallot is usable right now, at least not at a high level, because the gimmicks just, but for a fun kind of stroll through and trying to make it work, and then making him the last character and just one-shotting someone similar to what Gogeta can do, yeah, sure, he's kind of usable in that sense. But again, with Gogeta running around. There's just no reason to use Shallot. None at all. You know, Super Vegeta is still very strong. You know, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, the Goten. Every team just kind of has their really strong units right now. As far as PvP goes, again, make sure that you guys subscribe and let me know in the comments if you have any kind of suggestions, things that you would like me to do in the future. If you like the opening edit there, maybe I'll try and do some more kind of funny clips like that if I can get the footage for it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Monday for the PvP guide, and have yourselves a great day. See ya.